Guru Maharaj, please accept our humble obeisances.
Everyone has to go on mute. Krishna Kiran on mute. And let's see who else isn't. TM, whoever TM is. And okay, looks like almost everyone's on mute. Okay, that's nice and quiet, except for Natalia also needs to mute your computer.
315.
Okay. Krishna, everybody. We've got and Siddhartha, and then there's Raja and Chaitanya. Of course, I can't necessarily see whether you even have a mute. And Hina Kumari. Okay, hopefully everyone's quiet. And we've got...
we can't see you, Guru Maharaj.
You can't see me. Okay, now you should be able to see me.
Yes, we do. Hare Krishna.
Okay, and I have Adrian sitting beside me over here from America via Romania. And I am in a guest house type hotel in Szeged. And for those of you who remember Szeged, I'm just looking to see if there's anyone here. Was Abhimanyu on? No, I thought I saw him. Okay, none of you were here. And there's and Shambhi Harry's here, and Radha Damodar is also here. And we're just in the process of unpacking. And we'll be staying, oops, I gotta be recording this as well. And then we have, there's a town festival over here, and we've been invited to participate in that. So we're going to do that. We're going to continue talking on environment, since the whole festival is about lotus. This is the biggest lotus pond in Europe, right, Shambhi? Mid-Europe. So this is in mid-Europe. And so they're having a lotus festival of all festivals. And this is south, right on the border with Romania, Serbia. We're nearby. So it's about as warm as Hungary gets down here, and it's pretty warm. I guess it's pretty warm in the UK as well. And
very warm.
Very warm. Then Radha Govinda's here in Romania, and I guess it may be pretty warm over there. And then there's Srimati. Well, it's always warm in Australia. Although it must be, well, for you, it's 1:30 in the morning, isn't it?
No, Guru Maharaj, it's 3:35 a.m.
3:30. Okay. Anyway, since you're up every morning at this time, then doesn't it's just very convenient for you to have the conference here. And anyway, and then we'll be staying here for a little while and going back to Budapest, and from Budapest, then we're going to another town, which is all the way out east, and that's on what's no, yeah, never. Szombathely, that's right, Szombathely. And that's just on the border with Austria. And then we're back to Gibrajadam, and it's Janmashtami time. So exciting time, and then Ukraine, and then Radhastami, and then Turkey, and oh, we don't have any Turkish devotees here, right, Parshana?
I don't know, Guru Maharaj. I mean, everyone got the message, so.
Okay, yeah, anyway. So we're here, and I'm just on the house internet. If it's not strong enough, I'll move on to my telephone, but it seems to be pretty good. What have we got by way of questions? Last time we had two real bloopers, which was how do you explain to people about Maharaj Udrasegana's 4 quadrillion soldiers. I'm quite sure that that's the type of topic you want to stay away from when you're trying to convince people about the validity of the Krishna consciousness movement. And then the other one was what type of pastimes should you be listening to as you're getting old? Hare Krishna. Certainly, well, the pastimes of detachment. How about Maharaj Rishabdev entering the forest and leaving his family? That's the type of things you read about, Leela, you read about when you start getting older. Okay, but I'm sure we've got lots of good questions today. And who? Key.
Siddharth Prabhu from the Ukraine.
He's having sound issues at the moment, so I'm just trying to help him. So maybe we can go to the next person.
Okay. Chaitanya Leela from the UK.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, from obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So my question is, just bringing it up. I wanted to understand more about the personality of Akrura. When I was young, I read the Krishna book. I was really, really attracted to the prayers that he spoke, and that's in Krishna book. They're one of my favorite prayers, actually.
So are you banging around or?
No.
Okay, something is.
Okay, is that better? Is it better?
I don't know. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Okay. And then.
By the way, I'm audible. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, very clear.
Okay.
And then in reading in your Krishna Sangati book, where it's described that he, it's described that he sort of committed an offense to the gopis. because he didn't console them. And his name actually means not cruel. And the gopis used to actually describe that. Actually, he's the opposite of not cruel, and he's cruel by taking Krishna away. And it's also written in there about his heart unable to melt with compassion, and it's dry with knowledge but no sweetness. So my question is more about trying to understand this personality, because I suppose when I was young and I read those prayers, they were, really wonderful prayers, and they inspired me and his devotion to Krishna. But yet we see that actually his part in the past times was that he potentially committed an offense to the gopis. So I just wanted to know a little bit more about his personality and what type of devotee he is.
Akrura is Krishna's uncle, at least by some kind of sort of lineage, biological lineage. On the other hand, when Kamsa took hold of Mathura, then all the Yadavas and everyone else left. They went into hiding. They went to caves. They went in disguise, and so on. And it describes, but some of them stayed in Kamsa's employ. Now, if you're that immediately means that Akrura is compromised. He's compromised because he's serving someone who at the same time is torturing Krishna's parents. And of course, this is all Leela, Krishna's Leela, but the Leela's there to teach us something. So being in that type of situation where you're participating in something that directly or indirectly is, in this case, sort of indirectly against Krishna, compromises you. And because it compromises you as a person, it leads you into doing further sinful, further compromising activities. And that's what we see with Akrura. He's a devotee, there's no doubt. And he understands something of Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. But when, he arrives, he's dealt with real formality by both Krishna and Balaram. And his having come into Kamsa's service means that he later on becomes in a situation where he's taking Krishna away from Vrindavan, which means that he becomes cursed not just by the gopis, but by everybody. So he does something that's even more against the desire of the pure devotees, and brings them grief. So it's an example of how one should be very careful as to the type of life one leads and the type of service that one accepts. because it may lead one into further compromised situations. Right. So, so that's one thing about Akrura, and of course he crossed the gopis, so he later on then got entangled in the whole Shamantaka issue, as well as the killing of Prasena, and then who was else? Then there was someone else who got murdered at night. So, so there are many different types of devotees, and you can see that yes, those prayers are ideal, and he's considered to have attained perfection by saying prayers, but at the same time, he's in his category of perfection. He's not in the category of the Brijbasis or the Gopis and so on. So that's something about Akrura. Having said that, considering who we are, we should just offer our respects to him, because after all, he is Krishna's uncle and part of Krishna's pastime, Krishna's Leela. Okay.
Thank you, Gurumaharaj.
Okay, that's good. Anyone else? Anything further along that train of thought? Okay, something else.
Hare Krishna Devidasi from the UK.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Sai Krishna Devidasi.
She's there, but
Listening.
yeah.
Actually, yeah. I don't know if she's actually hearing, but let's go on to the next one then.
Okay. Gopal Roy from Wales.
Gopal Roy from Wales.
Hi Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Is that the Brahmachari ashram?
No, I'm on traveling Sankirtan at the minute.
Uh-huh.
Staying in a place up north. My question was regarding to in the last Zoom call, I've been thinking about this very sobering point you mentioned about, you said something, you can forget about the idea that by serving ISKCON, you can go back to Godhead, but it's by your quality of the name you chant. And I was wondering if you could expand on that to some degree, because I was wondering how much of our endeavor compared to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada that we get from serving his mission, and how much does the Prabhupada's mercy or Lord Chaitanya's mercy?
If you actually really serve ISKCON, then you will certainly go back to Godhead. Serving ISKCON means doing those things that Srila Prabhupada wanted ISKCON devotees to do, which includes practicing Krishna consciousness seriously. So my point was that everyone has some service, someone distributing books, someone cooking, someone deity worship, someone something else. So there tends to be this misunderstanding that that's all I need to do, and the other things are not important. They can just be kept to a minimum. But that's not the case. Serving ISKCON means serving Srila Prabhupada's books, chanting Hare Krishna. Our primary service is to chant Hare Krishna and to chant Hare Krishna with real attachment and to go deeply into chanting, not just to do the minimum. So that was my point. And very often devotees, well, that's my experience in talking to devotees. The devotees really neglect, if they read Prabhupada's books, then that's like a great achievement. But the issue isn't just reading Prabhupada's books, it's studying Srila Prabhupada's books and going deeply into, like Chaitanya Priya asked that, Chaitanya asked that question about Akrura, going deeply. What is the nature of a person? What is the nature of that bhakti? Why these are things that Siddhanta Boliya Chittena Karalas. So this is serving ISKCON also. Becoming Krishna conscious is serving ISKCON. So not just physically. Yes, physically engaging is wonderful, and that we're doing things, but there needs to be more than that. Prabhupada didn't just give that, and ISKCON isn't just the activities of preaching Krishna consciousness, it's also the activities of being Krishna conscious and embodying what Krishna consciousness actually means. What does it mean to be Krishna conscious? So we should be able to show that to people. And you hear me say that a lot. Our business is not just telling people how great Krishna consciousness is, but it's about being the personification of what that Krishna consciousness is. So that's how. And then Prabhupada's mercy is there, but Prabhupada's mercy is for people who really try and really make that effort and apply themselves to the different aspects of ISKCON. Does that sort of clarify things?
Yes, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Because we see that devotees may have done so many different types of service, from being guru on down to so many other things, and if they're not Krishna conscious enough, they leave. So then, what was the purpose? What was the purpose if gurus, sannyasis leave Krishna consciousness and leave ISKCON? So no, but rather that we take it very seriously, and I'm trying to emphasize that because it's something that sometimes is even de-emphasized. So, to balance that, we have different things. We have, for instance, at the manor, we have the manor, I'm not sure what it's called, the Manor College, education. In Hungary, we also have our college over there, our Bhakti College. There's the Mayapur Institute of Higher Education, the Vaishnava Institute, Vrindavan Institute of Higher. And so the whole idea is that, yes, there's more emphasis being placed nowadays on devotees studying Srila Prabhupada's books, but then they have to be careful that they don't go on the other extreme that we just become Gyani Bhaktas, and we just get into learning the philosophy, and we're not doing anything. In other words, we're not preaching Krishna consciousness. We end up sitting in Mayapur and Vrindavan all of our lives, chanting Hare Krishna for our own benefit, rather than giving Krishna consciousness to others. So it's the balance of both things that has to be there. And it's not easy. It's not easy for different reasons. I think I talked about them before, so I won't repeat. But therefore, we have to really learn how to keep that balance and strive for that balance. Okay, that was anything else on that? Go, Paul.
No, that was very clear. Thank you. I was also wondering about, do you think there's certain persons, I was thinking about George Harrison, for example, whether he might have gone back to Godhead just for performing such service, even though he might not have perfected any sadhana, for example. And there's examples like that I was wondering about.
Well, he may have, but that's an exception, and we can't make the exception the rule. So just because that's the exception, devotees can't think, well, maybe George Harrison went back to Godhead. I don't know if Prabhupada ever said such a thing, but I'm not going to debate that he didn't. But if he did, and other devotees may have, but is that the rule or is that the exception? That you don't do sadhana, that you do other things that aren't part of our regulative principles. So are we all meant to follow that? It's not what Prabhupada told us to do. It's not what's in Srimad Bhagavatam. So rather, we should follow the example of what's in, follow Prabhupada's example. Prabhupada was a sadhaka, as was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and so many other devotees. They emphasize sadhana. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he goes through that that Madhurya Kadambini, and it's all about sadhana. So we should not neglect doing what is actually expected of us, or try to take the easy way out, which may be a dead end. Krishna is going to have to give us, and Prabhupada is going to have to give us his blessings and mercy anyway, for us to really move forward in spiritual life, and we're getting that mercy. The fact that we got Krishna consciousness means we got Prabhupada's mercy. The fact that we're here talking is a result of Prabhupada's mercy. So everyone's recipient of Prabhupada's mercy. And for us to move forward, certainly we're going to have to get Prabhupada's spiritual masters, Krishna's mercy. But we should get mercy on the basis of our effort, not get mercy on the basis of not making our best effort. Okay, we're doing good. Others have Any other questions?
Siddharth Prabhu from the Ukraine.
Siddhartha from the Ukraine.
Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna. Okay, one thing we could do is that if everyone in the very beginning, when we come online, everyone offers their obeisances, then we don't have to do it every time someone asks a question. It's understood that it's done. Otherwise, we're going to be offering a lot of obeisances along the way. Okay, go ahead, Siddhartha.
In Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.41, there is
What canto?
7, 5,
Yeah.
41.
Okay.
There is stated that even though a person who has no assets in pious activities performs some good deed, it will have no result. Are there need for some kind of preliminary piety to receive benefit from pious activity? Or what does it mean?
I don't know. Right now, my folio is not opening, and so I can't tell you. You read that again.
Even though a person who has no assets in pious activities
Who has
perform assets
Yeah.
in pious activities performs some good deed, it will have no result.
I don't know. I have to see the context, and as I say, I can't see it. Who's speaking? Who's speaking, by the way?
In Bhagavatam, who's speaking in Bhagavatam? Yeah.
Yeah, who's speaking? What Leela is this? It's a
Pardon, I should refresh it. 7.
Guru Maharaj, you might put it the extract on the chat.
Say that again.
Nimai, he put the passage on the chat. If you have a look at that, maybe that might help.
Chat. No, this is Hungarian. No,
Laat me zingen, Dave.
Chat. I can't see anything. Oh, here's chat.
It's stated by Prahlada Maharaj.
Yeah, even though a person has no assets in present, performs some good deed. A person who has no assets in past activities performs some good deed, but no result as the weapons of the demons had no tangible effect on Father because he was so. A person who has. I don't know. It's a comparison to the demon's weapons not having any effect on Prahlad Maharaj. I'd be curious to see what here's Prabhupada saying. I feel I cannot be the demons are yes, right, the Supreme Personality of God. Anidesha can understand it. Prabhupada doesn't comment on this. Okay.
Why don't you put the charger back in the room?
Anyway, that's what it says. That's what Bhagavatam says. A person who has no assets, who doesn't, who's never performed any good activities.
How much? 1, 2, or 3?
There's
1, 2, or 3.
someone turned their microphone off, and even though he does something good, it will have no result. I'd be curious to see what other commentators, if they actually comment on that and what that actually refers to. Because generally we understand that even if someone is very sinful, if he does something pious, he will get some kind of result. What to speak of if he does some unknown devotional service, that will, he will get some kind of result like that. So what actually the context is, we'll think about it and come back at the next time. Thus the weapons had no tangible effect. The analogy is interesting. Thus the weapons had no effect. So if the example is that Radha Govinda, you have some insight into this? That in a person who has no asset, so that means there's a weapon, highest person good deeds, and he does something.
Guru Maharaj, I feel that that's just the case, that no piety, no force, nothing can do anything to a devotee because he's completely protected by the Lord. So that's what I feel is the logic of this statement.
Well, it doesn't seem to talk about that, but it has to be, it's not the direct statement.
Yeah.
This is the type of thing that you have to interpret because it goes against what the direct explanation of our understanding is. It's very clear, no matter how sinful somebody is, if he does some good activity, he will get some result. So you have to then interpret this in some other way, because the direct meaning just goes against so many other statements of the Bhagavatam also. So then what Radha Govinda says works. Is that okay? But the analogy still needs to, it's not so easy, meaning the weapons, the demons, and the effect on Prahlad Maharaj. Bhagavatam is really wonderful. You really have to, and this is the type of thing, you don't just read, but like Siddhartha, then you study, what does this actually mean? And how does the analogy work? If I had a piece of paper in front of me, then I would try and draw it out. how these things are actually work parallel. And these are philosophical statements, statements of Vedanta Sutra, which are being explained through these pastimes. And this is what devotees spend their time trying to understand. You can spend a lot of time meditating on this, and it becomes Siddhanta Bodhiya Chityana Karalas. It becomes a really good source of meditation. And it becomes and that's what we should do. We should engage our mind and intelligence in trying to understand the teachings of the Bhagavatam. And this is a good example of something like that. And then, it may be a little confusing to do it here, but in a group of smaller devotees, then you go around and you discuss and actually go deeper and deeper into just discussing what does this particular analogy actually mean. And of course the context, now the context is clear. Here the demons are torturing Prahlad Maharaj. And this is Narada Muni talking. Okay, so you can go further into that, but right now, if you have any more questions, we can move on to those. Is that okay?
So we will continue next time to clarify it.
If I have time to meditate on it, I'm trying to meditate on a lot of other things. But why don't you figure out how to clarify it?
I will try.
What we were just talking about, and see what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami, what do they say, if they say anything? Okay.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, this is Siddhanta Bodhiya Chityana Karalas. Someone else?
Adokshaja Krishna Prabhu.
Is it warm up there in Scotland? Adokshaja.
Yes, really warm. Yeah, we're in a state of shock, actually.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's very close and really hot. The Scottish are bewildered.
Go ahead.
So I just wondered, last time you were saying, Guru Maharaj, how important the Shikshastakam prayers are, that we should study these because this was Lord Chaitanya's the essence of his teaching, and it was all about the holy names, so it's so important. And then I wondered, do we go through them systematically? Do we really concentrate on the first one before we go into the next one, or can we jump to a particular one if we're inspired by I know Nomba Krishna is my Lord, or is that going ahead of ourselves?
Any way that you study is good, but usually systematic studying is what's encouraged, that devotees study in a systematic way. I would, if you see, then bhakti. I'm just going to turn on some light here because I don't have any light. This is just, I just got a window over here and that's where the light was coming. And now this is my telephone. And I'm doing the Morse code. I wasn't into that. Okay. But if you follow what Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur give their explanations, and generally they're also going systematically. And there's a development, a train of thought, and the verses relate to devotees of different stages of devotional service, and we should follow those and understand those. Certainly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions are of utmost importance. And then, what does Shikshastakam really mean? If we want to expand it further, aside from the explanations on the verses, then there's that Harinam Chintamani. But the important thing is that it talks about the chanting of Hare Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya doesn't really speak about anything else. He's emphasizing, because Harinama eva kevalam, that's what our Yuga Dharma is. So our business is to chant Hare Krishna. And how do we chant Hare Krishna? And what is the result of chanting? Starts off with the perfections of chanting, and then Nam Akari Bhakda. So Smaranena Kala, no hard rules, regulations. Oh, today, the problem is I can't open my folio, and now my telephone has this really nice verse. Oh no, it's also therefore on my iPad. This really good verse that we gave actually class on today. And it's a very well-known verse and a famous verse. Devotees.
Or what?
Devotees.
No, finish that, I'll give you yogurt rice. Chicken or lamb?
Someone's talking over us. Can you turn off the microphone, whoever that was? So it says, Mantratas tantratas chidra desha kala havastuna sarvam karoti nischidam anu sankirtana tava. Anyone know that verse? Dayal, you know that verse? I saw Dayal Nitai here. I can't hear you because you're not turned on. But here's the translation for those who don't know it. It's a very easy verse. Mantratas, tantratas chidra, desha kalarha vastuta, sarva karoti nischidram anu sankirtanatava. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing the mantras and observing the regulative principles, and moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, and paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. So this is This is spoken by, of all people, Shukracharya, the Bali Maharaj's spiritual master. And Shukracharya is talking. This is after the Lord blessed Bali Maharaj, blessed Prahlad Maharaj, and then he asks Shukracharya, well, you cursed this poor man, you cursed your disciple. What did he do wrong? Tell me, what fault was there? Did he do something wrong in terms of the execution of his religious activities? And so Shukracharya replies, this verse is quoted by Jiva Goswami. It's in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Shloka book. It's in Bhakti Sandarbha. And it's very important because it's something that we depend upon a lot, which is that even though there may be so many imperfections in the activities that we do fire yagas, we chant mantras, we don't pronounce things properly, we don't pronounce shlokas properly, we don't even pronounce the Hare Krishna mantra properly sometimes, depending on some people's accent or sort of their linguistic conditioning. And what to speak of deity worship, we commit many offenses in terms of worship of the deities, take a lot of shortcuts. But here it's stated but by chanting Hare Krishna, and of course that means chanting Hare Krishna properly, offenselessly, then that fills in for all of those other shortcomings. Everything becomes automatically perfect by the chanting of the holy name. And that's why chanting is more important. It's our most important activity, and why we need to really concentrate on chanting. So I don't have the actual reference place, but it's somewhere there in 8th canto at the end of the pastime. Mantratas tantatas chitra desha kalarha vastuta sarva karoti nishchiddam anu sankirtanatava. Very beautiful.
It's 8:23:16.
Great. Thank you very much. So for devotees who want to memorize shlokas, here's very easy. Very easy. Mantratas tantratas chidha desha kalata, then so on. I'm working on it. Started today. That's pretty good for me for today because it's quite easy. Okay, well we're sort of wrapping up. Is there any last one?
Hare Krishna Devi Dasi.
What is Hare Krishna Devi Dasi about?
She just needs to turn her mic on.
Okay, well maybe someone else.
Deva Prashta.
Hare Krishna, Gumaraj.
Hare Krishna.
I was today's incorporation of ISKCON, so I was just wondering.
Oh yes, that's right. Today is the incorporation of ISKCON. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I was just wondering, with Prabhupada was so bold in preaching, and in the early days reading Shyama Sundar's book as well, they were so bold and ambitious in their preaching, but now ISKCON's more established and we need to maintain projects as well. So what's the best way to, follow in Prabhupada's mood, but at the same time sustain what is already existing?
Yes, sometimes it. I think it's much more difficult to maintain what's there than to just go out and break new frontiers. From my personal experience, in terms of whatever new frontier I've gone in, it's great, it's adventurous, it's exciting, and so on. But creation is always easier than maintenance. Maintenance means you got to be in the mode of goodness to maintain. And boy, is it ever really difficult to maintain things according to the standard, according to something that's really representative of Srila Prabhupada. It may be a different mood or different taste. It's not a different mood, it's the same mood. It's just a different taste. Devotional service has different tastes. One taste is the excitement of starting things and doing things, like for instance, going out and selling books. It has its unique taste, but it's relatively easy by comparison to what you do after the people have read the books. That's not necessarily as easy, as inspiring. It sometimes can be really, really difficult, helping people along on their path to Krishna consciousness, which may take a long time before they become self-propelled and moving forward. And what to speak of giving them the facilities like temples and restaurants and all of these things, and farms and gurukula and teachers, and so it has a different taste, but it's the same pioneering mood, and of course simultaneously we should be also bringing new people to Krishna consciousness, so the preaching should be there. Otherwise you can't maintain. You can't maintain unless you preach, because as you notice, we get old and we can't do all of the things that need to be done. So in order to maintain, but to speak of in order to expand. And Sanatana Goswami elaborates on this on different times, on being sensitive to the different tastes of different types of devotional service. All the 9 types of devotional service have their own unique taste. And some people prefer one type, some people prefer another, but ultimately they're all equally wonderful. They're all bhakti. They're all bhakti with its diverse, different tastes and experiences. So, with that, we should conclude. And when do we have another one? Well, 2 weeks from now, could try, but I may be still on the road. So Varsana will have to check, because I'm going back to Budapest 2 weeks today. Doing it in the car is also not impossible for me. I've got headphones and so on. Okay, so
should we say 9th, Guru Maharaj, 9th, the same time? 9th of August?
Yeah, 9th of August, same time. Same time.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, we did question. Next time, maybe we'll talk a little more about, also like some particular topic to go on. discuss. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night. And we'll see you on in a couple of weeks if I don't see you before then.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Oh, Srila Prabhupada. Jai.
Jai. Guru Maharaj ki
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.